Supposedly, Isaac thought he was on his deathbed, and yet here we see a generation later he's still kicking around. I mean, he was still kicking around. That's one of the.
It's possible that the people who wrote the wrote the story centuries later twisted things around a little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit.
Well, no, think about this.
Very modest about that.
I always put that stuff into, like, you see, there's you grew up in a Christian tradition. There's no humor in the Bible. There's really no humor. Everything's very serious.
Any Christian theology, we're not here for
that. But look at here. If you look between the lines and you look at the story, there's lots of humor in the Bible. There's lots of little funny things, and that's one of the things. Yeah.
Well, think about this: a hairy person, a person with a lot of hair on their arms, does not feel like the skin of an animal. He killed a goat or a kid or whatever it was.
Put something on him. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, does it really? Okay, you can't see it, but you're not going to tell me that it feels the same.
Wendy knows because she was there.
Well, here's the thing, and I like this too. When Rabbi Adras says that we're all human, the people in the Bible, the people in the Torah are human, and I like this because I have a friend. I have a very good friend. His name's Aaron Beasley, and he has Fragile X. Okay, and I'll get back to why. Because Abraham and Sarah had a child when they were so old that biological was impossibility. But the older you are when you have a child, they say the more chances that they might have a little bit of developmental problems. True. So some said that Isaac was kind of slow, which is, kind of slow, which I like. I mean, that's everybody. He's still one of the, he's still one of the patriarchs, and he's slow. And I can tell you, my friend Aaron Beasley, who has Fragile X, whenever I look at Aaron, I think of Isaac. So that's just my thing.
That could be.
That could be. That could be. There are a lot of little stories and everything. Oh my gosh, Yes. Oh. Well, I'll be listening, but I kind of have be around the house here. I'll see you guys.
What kind of dog do you have?
Well, this dog, Leo. Everybody wants to. I'm just going to put. I fought last night to put down Tom, Jenny, and Leo. There you go. Hi, Leo. Here, Leo. Come here.
Oh, he's cute.
Yeah, this is Leo. He's a. I think what they call him a Havapoo. Havapoo, part poodle, and part little something else. He belonged to Daniel Bradford.
Right.
Okay. And Daniel Bradford went to the service, and he wouldn't really go to keep the dog, so he became our dog. Well, he stayed with us for a year, and Jenny, of course, became very attached. And we've had at one time 3 dogs running around here. We had Leo, and we had Rita and Ginger. And Rita was 20 years old, and she passed away earlier this year. And I mean, Ginger was only a couple years younger, and she had been getting slower and slower, and she passed about 6 months later. So that's 2020 for us. We lost 2 fur babies, this year. Leo here is our dog.
He's adorable.
Thinking of my age, thinking of our ages, I've already had this talk with Jenny. This is the last. You can't see it very well from here, but if you see these little pictures in the back, one's our wedding picture and a couple of pictures of Jenny and I, and the rest are all the dogs. We never had children, but we had dogs. We've had Jesse, the first one. He was a schnoodle. And then we had Lucy, who was, I think, was part Greyhound and part Labrador. Zach was in between. I'm not sure exactly what kind of dog he was. It was a little tragic, because we all got our dogs to rescue, and Zach unfortunately had a brain tumor. He didn't live long with us, maybe about 3 or 4 years. And then there was Rita and Ginger. So that's we've had quite a run with our dogs and everything.
So
That's
Tom, how are you and Jenny doing from the COVID?
we're
Are you
doing
all
fine.
good?
We're doing fine. I took a test the other day
Uh-huh.
and I have no symptoms. They're still saying positive, but I
Really?
now have a letter from my doctor that says I don't have active anymore.
Uh-huh.
So,
And
we're
Jen,
kind of out of that. So that's the good thing.
Have-
He also said too that because of what they're saying, the CDC, like we probably got a 3-month immunity now, so that's what's going to be happening, which is good because I'm hopefully starting some contract work later on,
Uh-huh.
this month. Yeah.
and Jenny, is she negative now or?
Jenny only took the one test and she hasn't shown any symptoms, so she'd be about
Uh-huh.
the same as I am. I was trying to get
Be well.
work
Be safe.
I guess you can still have inactive and it shows positive, but that's
Mhm.
what they're saying with the CDC guidelines. So they said maybe possibly we'll have like kind of an immunity or kind of be able to catch it for
Mhm.
about 3 months, and hopefully by that time the vaccine comes out. And I am a healthcare worker and I will be on contract, God willing, and everything like that. Is that
Good.
everything will be fine.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let these
So
guys.
would they give you the vaccine if you've already had COVID or maybe had it?
That'll be worked out that'll be worked out when the vaccine comes out. But I'm going to take it if I can take it. I'm taking it.
Because if the immunity, even with the vaccines, they don't know how long. So they're thinking maybe 3 to 4 months. So then you'd have to get another.
Maybe a booster. It's
Dose
kind of like
of
our
it
flu
or
shot. You have to get it once a year because the thing mutates and everything. And nobody has said this, but I think that when the winter came around or something, it mutated because we didn't go to any rallies and we wore masks and we stayed away from things and still somehow caught it up. So I think that I think it just got very more virulent or whatever.
aggressive.
I probably could have tested positive. It wasn't until I got sick. I could have tested positive a long time. I mean, when you're around them, might have something, but well, the vaccine's on the way. We're doing good.
Good.
We actually get off the Misha Barra, I think, but we're doing good now.
Be very careful because my daughter had it, thought she was over it, and days later they told her she had COVID pneumonia. She had,
Wow.
It can
she had,
happen.
she had some friend that was well for, I don't know if it was weeks or months or whatever, and it came back, and then he was hospitalized.
Oh, gee.
Yeah,
Well,
that has
we talked in the Torah study about somebody, to put out the fear about, age and when we're going to die. And I always say one of the things I do every morning or try to do every morning is say, well, today is not the day I'm going to die because I'm really only going to be wrong once, so I'm good with that.
I think that was me, Tom, that said that this
Yeah.
morning.
You're only going to be wrong once. Just get up and say, hey, I'm not going to die today. You're only going to be wrong
Mm.
once. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
gonna
Thank you.
live today.
Okay, guys, just
Good morning
Let's-
again.
Good morning.
Cantor, we're all set.
Yes,
Mine says a couple more minutes till 10.
No,
Yeah, I'm ready.
the Torah, you're gonna take, okay, so,
I have it. I know where the spot is. Some well-meaning soul marked it with a pencil.
oh my God, are you
Um,
serious?
Yes. So I'll open it up and I'm going to attempt to take the computer and see if I can follow along while you're. Is
Okay,
that okay?
I'm gonna start around verse 23.
You
So
said
don't worry about it.
you
We'll,
said Vayakom Valayla. Vayakom Valayla.
hold it. Yes, Vayakum Balayla. Ken. Yippee skippy.
Awesome.
All right, so we're almost, if those of you who have to do anything, you have 2 minutes.
Well done.
Do you guys need, is the sound like so much better when I use the microphone and I'm on the computer with the headphones and everything, or does it matter?
Okay.
Matter.
Matter.
We hear you very well now.
I can hear you.
Okay, so I'll go.
You sound fine now.
Yeah.
It's the question of, does it get too muddy with the guitar when I'm not on the microphone, but I'd rather not today.
The Mickey Mouse earphones anyway.
What about Mickey?
The Mickey Mouse earphones anyway.
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse. Mickey
I'd rather
Mouse.
not I'm having a good hair day, so I don't feel like putting them on.
Looks good.
Yeah, I like your
Always
hair
look
from
good.
now.
Really nice.
Thank you.
Always look good.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anthony, that picture behind you looks so interesting. Could you possibly let us see it? Could you move your camera so that we can see it? Pick it up. Can you pick it up and get close? Yeah, we're getting a lot of reflection.
Reflection.
Yeah,
All right,
it's too bad.
Let me see if this helps.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
that's beautiful.
Oh, it is.
It's an actual painting. Let me read what's about. Marilyn Simandi is the artist. He said that he started painting when she was six years old. Her career began after she graduated from San Jose State University in 1969. Currently, she has had numerous awards, 61 shows. Currently works in the studio in Central California, where she lives with her artist husband. She's working on a book right now.
Looks like she's working.
okay.
On watercolor paintings. That's what I have on.
All right,
It's
ladies,
ready.
It's lovely.
time out.
All right.
We're right on time.
Yeah.
So if you take your prayer books and open them up to page 74 so we can begin.
Rabbi, I'm going to mute everybody, and then if I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Hold on one
Mute away, kiddo, mute away.
Where are you? There you are. Okay, you did it.
Okay. So on page 74, let us begin with the traditional Matovu as we move into this very interesting Shabbat morning.
Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov pastecha, voleitecha, eshtachavei ilecha, kol shachar yirotecha. Matov, matov, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti be'olitecha, u'mekom mishkan kodecha. Ani ashtachavei echra, el v'kol lifnei Adonai u'si. Matov, matov, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. משכנותיך ישראל. משכנותיך ישראל.
And on page 76, the blessing in the morning for the fine workings of the body, to which we give thanks. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. For it is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai rofei chol basar umafli la'asot. Page 78. We move from the body to the soul, the Eloha Neshama.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi tehorai, Tamirata, Hatayitzata, Hatanefata bi, Liatat Neshama, Neshamra bikibi. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi tehorai, tehorai.
And on page 80, the Nisim B'chol Yom. So I'll ask if our two Nisim B'chol Yomers are up to the task today, or should we do something else? It's up to you guys. But if not, we'll go to page 80 and Cantor and Ed. B'vakasha.
We'll do it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan letzechli vina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokei achivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zoket gefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rocha haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten le'ayaf koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'einai utnuma me'af apai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam sha'asani bat chorim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam otei Yisrael b'tifaraha.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And on top of page 87, to the top of page 87, one of these paragraphs. All of you have the books? Do all of you have the book? Great. Sheila, thank you for volunteering. Could you unmute yourself and could you give us the middle paragraph that begins from the cowardice?
Yes, sir. From the cowardice that shrinks from new truth, from the laziness that is content with half-truths, from the arrogance that thinks it knows all truth, O God of truth, deliver us. Blessed is Adonai, teacher of Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamlamed Torah Le'amo Yisrael.
Todah Rabbah. Thank you very much. On page 88, this classic prayer, the basis for every caring community program that we've ever created. The Ele Devarim She'ein Lahem Shiur. These are the things that are limitless, to which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. It's a great, great, great prayer. And this is the day, as I keep mentioning, till we all get it right. This is what's required of everybody. No choice. This is what's required of everybody. Psalm 150, page 100.
Hallelujah, 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 b'kodsho, hallelujah, b'kiyamzo, hallelujah, b'gvurotov, hallelujah, can love good Lord. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, take a shofar. Hallelujah, benega v'chinor. Hallelujah, betov machor. Hallelujah, beminim ve'ugan. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, betzir tzaleshama. Hallelujah, betzir tzalechla. Kol hanshama te hallelujah. Kol hanshama te hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
And we continue on page 107, page 107 in the prayer book. The top of the page, this little paragraph. Anthony, do you have your prayer book there? All right, could you unmute yourself and could you give us that top paragraph beginning with "You have my attention"?
You have my attention, which is a tenderness beyond what I may say. And I have your constancy to something beyond myself. The force of your commitment charges us. We live in the sweep of it, taking courage, one for the other.
Thank you. We continue on at the opposite page with the Chatzi Kaddish, and we'll roll from right into the Chatzi Kaddish. At the end, we just rise for the call to worship the Baruch Hu. Cantor Barry.
Yitkadav, yitkadav, shemei rabbah. Yamad rachrutev, yamlich machutev. V'chayechonu yomechonu v'chaye l'chol Beit Yisrael. V'galol v'zeman gariv, v'meru amen. Yehi shmir Rabbah mevorach, le'olam u'le'mi onaya. יתברך, ישתבח, יתפאר, ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתאביב, ויתחלש, מי קודשה, ריחו לילה ממקום מחתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תמירם מעלמה, ממרו אמן.
Run away.
Shalom, shalom, v'retako, yotzeror, v'retako, shalom, shalom, v'retako.
After the Yotzer on page 113, page 113. Jill, could you unmute yourself, and in the honor of your ongoing undefeated season, could you give us that top paragraph on 113, which picks up the idea of the Ahava Rabbah and great love, once or twice? Go ahead.
Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leaving, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us toward our destiny by hard events and by freedom's now urgent voice, which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael ba'ahava.
Thank you very much. Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
You know, in the Torah portion, we talked about this at length in Torah study. This idea, that section we read on about reconciliation, and the idea that you know, as we move through life, the power of family and especially friends and friendship becomes so important, and especially when we're not in the pandemic in a position to meet our friends so much, but by connecting with them and the power of friendship. And if we're lucky enough to have lifelong, friendships that have lasted 30, 40, 50, 60 years, the type of friendship, you know, that if you pick up the phone, you don't see somebody for a couple of months, but immediately it doesn't matter. You just right back in it, just like you were. So before we do the Mi Chamocha, again, I mentioned this book last night. We read from a couple of passages from called Covenant of the Soul. That's from the Women of Reformed Judaism, was published in 2000. And there's a section in this book about friendship, meditations around friendship. And I wanted to share this with you in light of some of the conversation we had last hour, 2 hours ago, however it was, when we walked through the reconciliation package of this Torah portion of Vayishlach. This is a lovely little meditation called Don't Go Away. I hope you like it. It's wonderful to reminisce, recall the times gone by, share with friends of many years the smile, the tear, the sigh, a baby's birth, a college prom, a party and surprise, an offspring's wedding, grandchildren, a special friend's demise. The happy moments, sad ones too, are relived from the past, but through it all, those memories are bonds which seem to last. And though the years may fly away, the ties that good friends feel will never fray, will never age. They're meant to bind and heal. The wounds of battered yesterdays, the harshness of today, enhance the warmth of changing times. Dear friend, do not go away. It's a lovely little meditation on friendship. Page 122, the Mi Chamocha.
Israel, Kurmagezet Israel, Leftechen Umecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Ba'alein Adonai Tzva'ot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'a Yisrael.
Page 124.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftahu V'yagir Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotinu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol Rezocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo B'Ahava Melech Hozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atagi Bor Leolam Adonai Mechayecha Kol Atarav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Umorid Haga Hashem Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayecha Kol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofei Holim Umatir Asurim Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al givurut umidor melav melech menit umechayer umasmiach Yeshua v'neman atala chayot hakol baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hakol Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam Hishem shemakdishim oto b'shmi marom Kakatuv al yad neviecha V'kara zeh ve'amar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzebaot Melech haaretz kevodo Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimecha b'chol haaretz Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo Echad hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Umoshienu lehu yashmienu rachamav lehenei kohai ani Adonai Elohechem imloch Adonai leolam Elohai hichzion ledor vador hallelujah ledor vador nagid God lecha ונצח נצחים קדושתך נקיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Page 132, the Vishamru, as we continue with the Amidah.
Vishamru B'nei Yisrael HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל, בני ישראל אותי לעולם. משמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ליום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
In preparation for this morning, I wanted to offer you things outside the traditional liturgy, which we've been doing the last month and this month, and hopefully continue, because there's so much being written. There's so many things out there right now that add, I think, a certain, I don't know, different approach, or the Yiddish word tam, which is untranslatable, to services. So I want to take a jump out of the liturgy here before we get to the Sim Shalom and the silent prayer, to offer you something else, which I found just running around the library here in my study for today. This is from a book called The Mitzvah of Healing. It's from the old UAHC press, the URJ press, which of course doesn't exist anymore. But it's a collection of thoughts and essays and stories having to do with the concept of healing. And I stumbled across something from my colleague who used to work with us as a regional director many, many years ago, because it comes from your congregation. It comes from Ahavat Chesed. This is an article that Julie Spitzer of blessed memory wrote in this book. And we've talked about this before. She wrote this after her diagnosis with cancer. And she wrote this for this particular book. And I thought, something, I read it and I said, well, I just want to share it with you guys this morning. It fits in this particular part of the service in the Amidah when we're talking about so many different things. And just here it is, because I think, as we talked about this before, some of you knew her and you knew her parents, and it's always good not to forget. So Julie writes, now that I have been living with cancer for more than a year, I am much more aware of how both as a rabbi and a friend, I comfort others who are ill. I hope I never say to anyone, I know that you will soon be all better. These days, I am more likely to say, I hope things will go as well as possible, or may you draw strength from as many places as possible in this time of need. Sometimes I find that words are less important than simply being present, a concept institutionalized relatively early in Jewish history and in the commandment to visit the sick. Indeed, the sages believed a visit to a sick person took away 1/60 of their illness. Particularly, I'm grateful that Judaism, like so many religions, offers a sacred framework for the ordinary and the extraordinary, even if I haven't yet felt ready to offer the blessing for the safe conclusion of a difficult illness, the Birkat HaGomel. Quote, to you, Eternal One, I offer my thanksgiving and glorify your name. I praise you, Eternal God, Sovereign of the universe, You bestow great goodness upon me, unquote. What is most clear to me, she writes, through all of this is that I am not alone. I am part of a something far greater than any one illness or any one doctor or any one obstacle that may stand in the way of my healing. I am part of the fabric of life, the essence of creation, at one with the creative source. I just wanted to share that with you. It fits in this part of the service, and it's always good to remember a colleague, a friend, a member of Ahavat Chesed. Rest in peace. Shalom. Sim Shalom. Page 140.
Sim Shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova Uracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uracha. Sim Shalom, Tova Uracha. Rein v'chesed, rein v'chesed v'rachamim. Rein v'chesed v'rachamim. V'rachamim. Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Tova Alleluia, Israel. Alleluia, Israel. Amecha, Sim Shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova uvracha. Sim Shalom, Tova uvracha.
And we take a few moments of private prayer, meditation, allowing us to speak to our own souls.
Say shalom Rama, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Yaseh shalom, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Our service will continue with the Seder Kriyat Torah. You'll find the beginning of that on page 244, page 244 with the Ein Kamocha.
Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kemasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshatecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai osem onitim, Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, U'davar Adonai mirushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai Iti Unedromema Shemo Yachtav. Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod. Ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, Ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Lecha Adonai הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש.
There is major trouble when you try to do all of this from your own study and you have books and papers floating all over the place, and it's you have no idea just what went on here while thank God we were doing the Hakafah. Thank God. Okay. Anyway, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's good to see you. The Torah is out. So this is Vayishlach, and most of you are at Torah study, so we do not have to rehash the rather amazing depth of this Torah portion. The passage that we're going to read is, I think it's from 32, the end of 32, Genesis 32. And it really talks about the encounter, the wrestle, the change of the name, and that's really something we actually didn't get a chance to get to in the last session, the Torah study session. But I just want to point it out to you here. Jacob wrestles, and we had this whole conversation for about 45 minutes about who he was wrestling with, and as a result, you know that his name is changed. And I use this text a lot in one of the workshops that we do on Jewish sacred aging, on the theological foundation of sacred aging, because I think it has a very, very powerful message to us as we go through life. And that message is that here we have a tradition, Jewish tradition, which says, don't be afraid to really change. In this case, Jacob changes his identity. He has another name. And if you think about it, during all of our lifetimes, we take on different identities. as we go through life, from the time we're kids to the time we're maturing, as my mom used to say. She never used the word mature. She said, I'm maturing. At 90 some, she was still maturing. As long as she had her absolute with her, she was maturing very well. I mean, that's, you didn't know her, but that's the truth. It was her birthday yesterday, and it was kind of like weird. But anyway, so this idea of not being afraid to change your identity, I think it's a very, very powerful, statement. So many people now are transitioning in from one stage of life to another, and they really start taking on a different identity. And we have a tradition here, and I always base it on this particular passage, which says, don't be afraid to do that. You're never too old to grow. You're never too old to change. You're never too old to embrace something new in your life. And indeed, so many baby boomers are doing that. They're transitioning from full-time work into some other form of occupation or volunteer work, or giving. They give what I call the give back syndrome, which is very, very powerful. So this is, I think, one of the things I'm offering you to think about taking back or taking out of this from this particular Torah portion. Everybody's playing around with the chats. Okay, so that's all right. That's all right. Have a cup of coffee. By the way, next time I do this, Marilyn, I expect you to bring coffee for everybody. I'll be in Jacksonville, so you just are, I'm a Dunkin' Donuts fan. I'm not really a Starbucks fan. It's very acidic. Very acidic. Okay, so the cantor, we're attempting to do this technological. There's the Torah.
Can you see it?
I can see it.
Score.
And, okay. I know, Jill, I know we have Dunkin', because the first thing I did when I drove into Jacksonville when we were there for the holidays, I scouted out the Dunkin'. There's 2 Dunkin' Donuts, one on the way to the temple and one on the way back to the hotel from the temple. Trust me, I already figured that out.
Okay, so wait, if we're talking Dunkin', I need to share very briefly. When I was applying to jobs, it was between Jacksonville and Chicago, and my mother had a big long list of the pros and cons of both places. And she had taxes and cost of living and winter tires and on and on and on. But at the very bottom, the category was Dunkin' Donuts. And in Evanston, there were none. And in Jacksonville, she stopped counting at 39.
I'll tell you something. Career decisions have been based upon other things as meaningful as that. After all, there are days and there are moments when a good cup of coffee solves a lot of problems.
It's true.
It really is true. Although Chicago does have some world-class restaurants, but that's another story for another time. Okay, boys and girls, page 250. I want you to all join with the cantor and Rabbi Mallow in the Torah blessing. Okay, ready? Chat, shtaim, shalosh. Go for it. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam vaed. Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayachem alaylahu vayikach et shtei nashav ve'et shtei shitchotav ve'et achat asar yaldav vaya'avor et ma'aver yavok. That's the river Jabbok. Vayachem vaya'avir et hanachal vaya'avir et asher lo. Vayiva, and this is the key verse, verse 25. Vayivater Yaakov livado. Jacob was alone. Vayeavech ish imo, and he wrestled with an ish. Ad alot hashachar, until morning. Vayar ki lo yacholo. Vayigabechach yeracho. V'tekach kach yerech Yaakov. Behe avkul imo. Vayomer Shalcheni ki ale vayomer lo ashlechacha ki im berachatani. I'm going to bless you. Vayomer elav mashimcha vayomer Yaakov. And this Ish who he wrestled with, this angel, this God we don't know, said, what's your name? You'd think by now he knew his name. And Jacob says, Yaakov, Jacob. Vayomer lo Yaakov. No more is it going to be Jacob. Ye Amer od shimcha ki im Yisrael ki sarita im Elohim im anashim vatuchal. It's going to be from now on Israel, because you have striven, you have wrestled, you have confronted with God and man. It's as if this we talked about before. You have come through life. You've dealt with some very, very challenging things, and your resilience has allowed you to survive. Vayisra vayish al Yaakov vayomer agidana shimecha vayomer lamaza tish al lishmi vayevarech oto sham, and he blessed this place. Vayikra Yaakov sham hamakom Peniel. And he called it, Jacob erected an altar, called it Peniel. Ki ra'iti Elohim, I saw God panim el panim. I have striven, I have seen God face to face. But tinatzel nafshi, and my soul has survived. Vayiz rachlo hashemesh ka'asher aver el Peniel, v'hu tzolea al yirecho. Al kain lo yochel b'nei Yisrael et gid hanaseh asher akaf hayarech ad hayom hazeh ki naga b'chaf yerech Yaakov bagid hanaseh. This is the story. This is the part where he is wounded in the thigh, and he carries that with him, as if to say that even as we go through life, and we strive with demons, we strive with gods, we strive with the things that confront us. These two, as we talked about before, the Yetzer Hara, the Yetzer Tahato. None of us goes through life without some hurt, without something that in many ways wounds us, if not physically, spiritually, emotionally. But we continue to survive. We move on, and in the process, who we are in many ways changes. Our identity, our name, our affect changes. It's a great little passage, a great, great Torah portion. The blessing after the Torah portion, page 250. Let's all join with the cantor together. Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
And this is traditional, as you know, as the Torah scroll remains out on Shabbos morning. We pause for this moment of prayers for healing, the Mishaberach prayer. Even more pertinent as the weeks go by and the pandemic continues to run out of control. And while we still hope for this vaccine and some mitigation, we know too many people who are dealing with this. And so we offer these prayers of healing, this Mishaberach, for people who lie on the bed of illness, who deal with physical pain and mental pain, because the mental stress and strain for what we're going through for so many people is so profound on all levels. We will mention their names. We mention in our prayers those people who take care of these people. We cannot forget the caregivers, the people who give of their time, their energy, and their souls to allow people to heal, to be brought back to a refuah shlema, healing of the body and a healing of the soul. And so in that sense and in that prayer, we name these in the family of this congregation, on our Mishaberach prayer. Mari Abraham, Carol Babcock, Malcolm Bloom, Rosalie Teddy Bono, George Caballero and family, Stuart Cohn, Tom Davis, Muriel and Art Fields, George Glossman, David Hampton, Mary Hartman, Luann Ingram, Irene Jacobs, Judy and Ben Jacobson, Kimberly Janis, Robert Kay, Marilyn Levitt, Teresa Levy, Roseanne Macon, Barbara McDonald, Gary Nadler, David Osofsky, Laura Osofsky, Marilyn Pankin, James Penson, Lori and Lainey Pinar, Buddy Pollack, Robert Powell, Randall Rout, Marlene Reb, Sandra Resnikoff, Ida Richin, Anita Richin, Alex Rossin, Paula Rothstein, Rosella Schiff, Stephen Schulman, Ruthie Silver, Marnie Simpson, Jan Smith, Susie Snitzer, Bob Tews, Bernice Tobias, Ruth Van Alstein, Judy Van Gorder. They're with us here, Jenny and Tom Vick, Shirley Weintraub, Carolyn Wenk. I had four names really this week from our own friendship and family grouping: Ellen Jakoski, Bess Soffer, Dr. Jim Soffer, and Mark Travis. We have additional names, Cantor?
Yes, Chantel Norman, Lori Kurland, Bruce Emanuel, Stephen Emanuel, Eric Shamban, Michelle Katz, Evelyn Seltzer-Kahn.
To these names we name in public, to the names we hold in the privacy of our own hearts and souls, we offer this traditional prayer of healing, the Mishaberach. Cantor.
Mishaberach Avotenu, V'kol habracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu, v'kol habracha ta'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing, or refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We come now to the return of the scroll, page 252. Page 252 will rise for the Vizot HaTorah, continue through Etz Chaim, and remain standing, if possible, through the Aleinu and V'nei Amar. Vizot HaTorah, page 252. Got it, Harry?
I got it, don't worry.
Okay.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Lay, 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 lay. Yeah, lay, 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 lay. Lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. It's Chaim. Lama Pasitima, Retom Alecha Beusha, Dirafena, Darfena, Revoneti Vorteha Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים מודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Yeah.
Okay, before we move to the conclusion of the service, just a couple of announcements, some housekeeping things. Canterbury, do you want to remind people about the Hanukkah service and stuff coming up next week?
Okay, so we have decided not to have the in-person Hanukkah event with the numbers rising the way that they are all over. We're going to have a number of Hanukkah celebrations happening. Thursday night is candle lighting over Zoom, songs. It's great for everyone, all ages. Friday night, we'll have a Shabbat Hanukkah service over Zoom. Again, we'll light our Hanukkah together and sing songs. And Saturday night, there's going to be Havdalah led, I think, by Jill and Sydney.
Sydney and Lori.
Sydney and Lori, right?
Yeah, you don't want me singing in public.
And is Stav there for that program? And Stav Brenner, our Shaliach, will be there. And then we are going to be concluding the week of Hanukkah with a progressive dinner. And I was at the last one, and it was really, really fun. So you should totally join.
Are you having progressive latkes or something?
It was really cute. Like one person did the appetizers and one.
Right. But you didn't go. Are you going from people's homes to people's homes, or are you just going on Zoom and?
So we're on Zoom, and then and then they went through a little lesson on how to make the dish. It was really nice.
Well, who's in charge of the jelly donuts?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a very important thing. And then you have the eternal debate on the latkes of applesauce, sour cream. Does anybody else do anything else on their latkes? Because it's the South, so there may be grits. Somebody put grits on them. I don't know.
Why
You do
choose?
both at the same time.
At the same time, yeah. Why choose? Yeah.
No, I'm not. Listen, this is the age of inclusivity. There's nothing wrong with sour cream and the applesauce. Get all those calories in at once, and the deep frying brings out all the goodness.
Yeah.
All the goodness. Marsha, you're muted.
And all of the cholesterol too.
Well, now there's a passage in the Talmud. You have to understand. There's a special book in the Talmud that talks about food laws. I'm sure some rabbi has talked to you about this. It's got the kosher laws, and you can't eat a cheeseburger or cheesesteak and stuff like that. But there's also stuff that, for example, there's a passage in, I won't quote the Talmudic Aramaic because I forgot the exact quotation, but it says, "He who eats a meal standing up is without calories."
Straight down.
And that's somewhere in the Talmud. He who eats Chinese food on various holidays is without blemish. That's another passage.
Tradition, we can't change that.
No. I think there's one that says on certain Yom Tovim, he who eats deep fried foods is exempt from punishment.
Also, does it count if it's somebody else's?
There's a debate on that. Now, the Beit Hillel says you may eat from somebody else's, cooking, but Beit Shammai says you may not, because you have no idea where that came from, and they may have used Crisco. If you remember from our childhood, Crisco, there was a big thing of Crisco in my mother's kitchen.
Yes.
It's still in a lot of kitchens.
Yes.
She would coat the pans with the Crisco. Oh yeah. And she just had this conversation with a friend of mine who was talking about kreplach, which is a lost art form. And I thought, I remember my grandmother, and I can still smell it. She would make my grandmother used to make homemade kreplach and would fry it in this big cast iron skillet with a delicate coating of chicken fat to really bring out all the cholesterol, so that when you got done eating it, it was delicious. It was delicious. You immediately went, your arteries clammed up. All of this is true. I'm not making one thing up here, because so many of you may remember. That's the way. That generation cooked. I remember visiting.
Somehow they managed to burn it off.
No, we haven't. This is before gluten, etc.
They
did. Well, not everybody. My grandfather, of blessed memory, my grandmother and my grandfather owned a store in Atlantic City, a Bricker's dress shop in Ventnor.
Wow. Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid, we would visit them. And I remember one morning coming in and seeing my grandfather, Sal, who was the sweetest man from Lithuania. He'd come over and everything. And he was sitting at the table with the dining room table, which was the kitchen table, which was the everything table, with the linoleum oil tablecloth, right? Remember those?
Yes.
So if you spilled something, it immediately went away. And he was sitting there with his glass of tea, with the sugar cube, and a big slice of fresh pumpernickel bread, on which he smeared, don't be offended, a thin layer of schmaltz.
Yes.
And that was his breakfast. He died of a heart attack too soon, a night before my bar mitzvah. But I will never forget that. And I'll never forget that. And that was, he would eat that, just schmaltz and bread.
You had to put salt on the schmaltz.
I'm sure he did. People don't understand. It's a lost art form. It's another world. It's another generation.
My grandfather used to walk into the deli and order his pastrami with extra fat.
Oh, isn't it something?
That's the only way to eat pastrami.
What's malts, please?
Anthony. Somebody, wait a minute. Somebody tell Anthony what schmaltz is.
Fat.
It's regular chicken fat.
It's Anthony. It's a taste that you cannot duplicate. It's totally unhealthy. There's not an ounce of health in there.
Yeah.
But
it's gelatinous chicken fat that we used to keep in glass jars in our refrigerator to cook with and to use. My grandmother did.
No,
Anthony, you don't want to know from schmaltz these days, but
that's right.
You don't.
You remember our memories of the old country.
But there's nothing in the world that tasted like it.
No,
I just want to say, I used to work in Miami Beach, Mount Sinai Hospital.
Oh my God.
And the 2 times of the year that first of all, the irony is at least one time every year, I think I worked there, it was 13 years. During the holiday season, we would get a patient in there whose name was Tannenbaum. Okay. And the other one was during Passover time, we would get an increase in the older Jews coming in because a lot of Passover food has that high salt content, and a lot of them were on cardiac diets. They overate, they had their pulmonary edema, and,
Right.
and then they were, it's just funny.
Okay.
Thank
Wow.
you. Enough already.
Enough.
I now have a pain right here.
I just ordered from Katz's Delicatessen for our Hanukkah dinner, pastrami, corned beef, latkes, and the whole thing, which coming in Wednesday.
From where did you order it?
From
From Katz's Deli in New York.
Oh boy.
Thank you.
Anyway, we digress.
It was good digressing.
It's a lot. Listen, these are memories, and it's as much. And in Judaism, we say when we eat, sometimes it's as good as a prayer, and we've all been there. You say, "Thank God." Okay. But we have to turn now to the memorial section of the service to close.
Oh wow.
Yes. So we turn now and remember those who have departed from this earth, our lone loved ones, those of our friends and neighbors who have been lost, the martyrs of our people as well, whose graves in many cases continue to go unmarked. And we remember those, especially in this day and age of COVID, of every race and of every nation, whose lives have been a blessing to all humanity. And as we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and of loss, of life and of death. We're surrounded by so much of this now in the news, of the numbers and the tally, that sometimes it's hard to remember that every single one of those numbers on the screen were real live human beings with families and friends and children. And so we can't forget them at all. But in the context of this congregational family on this Shabbat, we observe the Shloshim of Stanley Tenenbaum, and we remember with love and respect the names of those, the anniversary of whose passing is observed on this particular Shabbat. Harry Baker, Dorothy Cohen, Marcus Cohen, Philip Nathans Coleman, Samuel Cutler, Alfred Feinglass, Jill Friedman Fixler, Ethel Fraden, Stephen Kapinski, Norman Ginsberg, Sandy Greenhut, Morris Heimowitz, William Horn, Edith Kessler, Florence Kidder, Jack Cobrin, Ranit Krinsky Lubliner, Simon Lasserow, Sarah Moscow, Florence Rosenblatt, Irma Rothstein, Bella Silverman, George Schnitzer, David Schwalbe, Alexander Wolf, and Kelsey Young. Cantor, do we have any other names?
No, but is anybody waving at you I have to be on speaker view.
Oh, okay. No other names? Do we have anybody? Okay. For those we have named now publicly, for those that we continue to name in the privacy of our own hearts, I ask you, if able, to rise as a community, turn to page 294, and we pray together. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash.
Shemei Rabba. V'yamati v'rach. V'yamlich makuteh.
V'chayechon uv'yomechon. Uv'chayei kol Beit Yisrael. V'agalav izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Olamei Olamaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitraman V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalah Shemei Dekudashah B'rechu Le'ela Min Kol Berachata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechamata Dami B'yama V'yimru. Amen. Yehei Shalomo Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Kol Yisrael V'yimru. Amen. Oh, say shalom b'mruma.
Booyah aseh shalom.
Aleinu
v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen.
Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and comfort to all who may be bereaved, as we say together.
Amen.
And we will close, Cantor Barry, with Ein Keloheinu.
Ein Eloheinu. On
Page 322. You know this one, so sing along.
Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonai, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshiach. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonai, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshiach.
Now, if you'll look here very carefully, you'll see the symbolic wine and challah. Okay. Oh, well, Felice, I'll take it out of the plastic, Felice, because the plastic doesn't taste good. And Linda has wine. We're ready to rock and roll. All right, Linda, so why don't you lead us in the Borei Peri Hagafen? Unmute yourself and just start her off with a Baruch. And and Anthony's got his, you guys come prepared, or you like drinking early in the morning, whatever the heck the difference is.
Leftover from last night.
What?
I poured it last night and I didn't particularly like the wine, so I got another glass of a different one.
I'm very proud of you. I mean, this is a group that knows how to drink, obviously. All right. Happy good Shabbos to you. Go ahead, Linda, lead us off. You and Anthony, you got the wine. Felicia's got the wine. Okay, go ahead. Baruch. Amen. 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 Not the whole glass, Anthony. Not the whole glass. Relax, dude. It's early. And Cantor, why don't you lead us in the motzi, and Felice, if you'll take the bread out and you can rip it up and just start with everybody, just pass it around from box to box. Go ahead, Cantor.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Shabbat shalom. Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. Beautiful service. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Just take care.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah, Jean.
Bye-bye. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Cantor.
Harry, thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Shabbat shalom.